Welcome back to part 4 of MPIT in plain English. Let's continue. The collapse that won't stop. So what's happening? This is the part that no one sees. The narcissist has left, or discarded us cruelly, or we were forced to leave because we couldn't survive any longer. But now everything breaks. This isn't just heartbreak. It's a full body, full mind collapse. We are no longer living in the real world. Even if we go to work, speak to people, or get dressed, we're not here. Our mind is in chaos. We're being torn apart inside our own head. The relationship wasn't just with another person, it was with a fantasy, one that took over our identity. The fantasy has shattered, but we're still in it, stuck in the wreckage. This is the collapse-induced psychotic regression described in MPIT. It means the psyche is falling backwards through developmental stages, losing emotional regulation, losing meaning, losing symbolic language. We can't feel our self anymore. We are losing grip on time, space, and meaning. This is an internal orbital collapse, a system failure happening within us. We try to fight it, we try to hold on, but the collapse only gets worse because the part of us trying to survive, that's the false self, the version of us that kept us safe in the narcissistic relationship. It wasn't real, and now it has to die. So, what does this feel like? Terror, grief, agony, and a strange sense that reality is breaking apart. We wake up and instantly feel it, like being electrocuted from the inside. We can't focus, we can't breathe. Everything is loud or everything is silent. Our heart races constantly. We shake, sweat, panic, or go completely numb. The mind loops like a machine stuck in a glitch. We try to explain the story to ourselves over and over again, trying to figure it out. It becomes an obsession, but it's not logic anymore. It's madness. We remember things that didn't happen. We forget what's real. Dreams blended with memories. Flashbacks come at us sideways. It's like our brain is creating scenarios, fantasies, fears, arguments, just to keep the collapse from completing. But that's not working either. This is what MPIT calls symbolic collapse. Meaning itself is breaking. Words don't help. Therapists can't reach us. The only thing left is raw pain. The body starts to fail. Sleep becomes erratic. The nervous system goes into constant flight or fight. Every feeling becomes a threat. And worst of all, we know we're losing our grip. That is the horror. So why is this happening? Because we weren't in a normal relationship. We were inside a shared fantasy, a psychological merger. The narcissist didn't just mirror us, we mirrored them. We fused. And what they needed us to be, we became. When they discarded us, or when we escaped, that fused part didn't leave. It still lives inside us. This is the narcissistic introject, an internal version of the abuser, lodged into our mind like a parasite. But it's not alone. Inside us now is the following: the false self protector, trying to keep us from falling apart, but also lying to us. The redeemer ego, trying to fix things, longing for resolution, blaming us for everything. The mute child, silent, frozen, terrified. The truth self, completely buried, unreachable. The narcissistic interject, cruel, punishing, repeating their voice inside our head. These are the internal actors in what MPIT calls the Hall of Mirrors. Everything we see is a reflection of a reflection. Nothing is solid. We don't know who we are anymore. The pain we feel is not just from the breakup, it's from living out their trauma in our body. This is reflexive mirrored psychic inversion, or MPI. We've internalized their emotional structure and are now collapsing under it. We are them now, in pain. This is the deepest stage of collapse. MPIT names it collapse-induced psychotic regression, orbital internal collapse, symbolic death of the false self. This isn't something we get over, it is something we go through, but it must happen. Why? Because the false self is a cage. It was built to survive the narcissist. It cannot survive outside the fantasy, and until it dies, the truth self cannot return. But the death of the false self doesn't feel like freedom. It feels like we are dying. Many survivors say they wanted to be hospitalized, but were terrified to go. If I thought I went in, I wouldn't come out. I didn't know who I was, and I was afraid of my own mind. This is the paracosm stage, the imaginary world created by trauma, now disintegrating. How do we survive this? We stop fighting the collapse, not by giving up, but by allowing the false self to die. We surrender to the grief, the rage, the terror. We let the narrative loop break. We stop trying to win the story. We let go. This is not spiritual bypass. This is grief. Raw, savage, disorganized grief. It doesn't follow stages. It jumps, loops, repeats, screams. But eventually we see the simulation for what it was. We see that we stood still for years, that our mind has been running the same loop, and now it's starting to end. This is not healing yet. This is the death before rebirth. And if you're here, you're not alone. Peace out. Loads of love.